My father called me a little past midnight, the kind of hour when the world feels too quiet and every sound carries weight. His voice trembled, soft but sharp enough to slice through 10 years of silence. "Evan, you need to help your brother. He's in trouble." For a long moment, I didn't say anything. The heater hummed behind me, the city outside drowned in winter fog. My brother. The man who once stood beside my parents the night they kicked me out. The same night I walked away from everything I thought was home. Now they were calling. Asking for help, begging. I should have hung up, but then I heard it. My mother's voice breaking in the background, and suddenly the past I'd buried for a decade opened its eyes again. I grew up in a quiet Massachusetts town, the kind of place where the streets are lined with old maples, and winters stretch out like long, unbroken silences. Our house sat at the end of the road, white paint flaking off, the smell of sawdust always hanging in the air from my father's workshop out back. He was a carpenter, the kind of man who believed hands were meant for building, not holding. My mother, a music teacher, filled the house with piano notes, soft things that tried to live beside the noise of hammers and drills. Then there was Nathan, my older brother, the golden sun with an easy smile and a voice that carried across every room, and me, the quiet one. Always sketching, always somewhere else in my head. When I was 10, I showed my dad my first drawing, a picture of his workshop, bathed in afternoon light. He looked at it, nodded once, and said, "It's nice. But drawings don't build houses, son." He didn't mean to hurt me, but I learned something that day. Silence keeps you safe. Years passed. Nathan thrived. I disappeared. When I was 17, the shop began to sink. Orders stopped coming in. I told my dad I could help, build a website, take photos, post them online. He shook his head. "We don't need computers. We need real work." A week later, Nathan came home from college, fresh degree in business management, fresh confidence in his step. He took over everything, drew up plans, talked about expansion, loans, profits, growth. Mom smiled, relieved. Dad looked proud. And I watched from the doorway, sketchbook in hand, knowing I'd already been replaced. A year later, it all fell apart. The shop closed. The bank took our house. When I told them I'd been accepted to an art institute in Boston, Dad stared at me like I'd just confessed a crime. "You're leaving? Now? You don't walk away from family." Nathan folded his arms. "You never think about anyone but yourself." That night, I packed a single bag. Outside, snow fell in slow, heavy flakes. Mom stood in the doorway, a ghost behind the glass, watching her youngest son vanish into the dark. And that was the last time I saw Maple Street. Boston wasn't home. Not at first. It was loud where I came from was quiet. Crowded where I came from was space. I lived in a small apartment above a cafe in South End, the kind of place where the pipes moaned in winter and the radiator hissed like a living thing. My first winter there, I could see my breath inside. I worked mornings at the cafe, nights sketching logos, freelancing for anyone who'd pay. I didn't talk much. There was no one to talk to. Sometimes when I made enough to buy something that wasn't instant noodles, I'd catch myself wanting to tell someone, "Hey, I'm doing it. I'm okay." But no one ever called. On my 24th birthday, I emailed my mother. Just a line. "I hope you're well. I'm still in Boston." No reply. That silence, it became something like a person. It sat beside me at dinner, followed me to bed, and by the time spring came, I realized I'd stopped expecting an answer. Years passed. My freelance work turned into a business. We called it Northline Studio. Just me and a college friend, two people trying to build something out of thin air. It worked, slowly, clumsily, but it worked. When I walked into our first office, sunlight pouring across the wooden floorboards, I thought, maybe this is what pride feels like. That night I sent one more email home. A photo of the studio and 2 words, "Made it." Still, silence. Sometimes I'd dream about that old house, Dad sanding wood in the shop, the smell of varnish in the air, Nathan's laughter echoing from the porch. Then I'd wake, and the hum of city traffic would remind me where I really belonged, far away. Then I met Claire. She worked as an interior designer, smart, unafraid, with a calm that made you want to listen. She told me once she'd left home too. "They said art wasn't a real job," she laughed. "Guess they were half right." We found something in each other. 2 people quietly building new lives from the rubble of old ones. For a while, that was enough. Until one night the phone rang. It was a little after 1. The city outside was frozen, and the sound of the radiator filled the space between seconds. My phone lit up on the nightstand. The name, Dad, had looked unreal. For 10 years, nothing. Now this, I let it ring once, twice, then I answered. His voice sounded smaller than I remembered. Evan, your brother's in trouble. Serious trouble. My throat tightened. What kind of trouble? His company. There's an investigation. Fraud, maybe worse. He could lose everything. He hesitated. We need your help. You're good with this stuff. The computers, the business things. A bitter laugh escaped before I could stop it. Do you even remember why I left? There was a pause. Then my mother's voice, thin, cracked, came through. Evan, please, he is your brother. The silence on my end stretched long. You didn't call when I was gone. Not once. We thought, don't, I said quietly. Teo thought I'd come back when I failed. I hung up. Claire stirred awake beside me. Who was it? No one, I said. Just the past knocking on the wrong door. But I didn't sleep. Not that night. Because somewhere deep down, I knew I'd answer that door eventually. The road to Maple Street hadn't changed. Same crooked fences. Same silent woods pressing in from both sides. When I parked outside the old house, I sat there for a long time, watching my breath cloud against the windshield. The workshop out back was dark. The Robert & Sons sign hung tilted, half buried under snow. I stepped out. Snow crunched under my boots. That same sound I remembered from the night I left. Only this time I wasn't 17. And I wasn't afraid. Mom opened the door first. Her hair was almost white now. Her smile, small, uncertain. You came. Inside, the air smelled like sawdust and old regrets. Dad looked older, smaller. Nathan was there too, sitting at the table, eyes hollow, hands shaking. For a minute, no one spoke. Then Dad said, "Thank you for coming, son." The word son hung heavy in the room. Like a name borrowed back from a stranger, I sat. What's going on? Nathan slid a folder across the table. Contracts, fake invoices. Altered signatures. I didn't need to read much to know what it was. You did this. It wasn't supposed to go this far, he said. I just tried to save the business by lying. Dad's fist hit the table. He was trying to do what I would have done. You think you're better than us now? No, Dad, I said quietly. Just different. Mom started to cry. Nathan looked at me, voice cracking. I know I don't deserve it. But please, Evan, you're the only one who can fix this. I looked around that house and the same walls that once echoed with my silence. For years I'd imagined hearing those words, "We need you." But now that they'd finally said them, I felt nothing. I'll think about it. Then I stood, opened the door and walked out into the falling snow. It was beautiful, in that quiet Massachusetts way, cold, endless, and clean enough to erase everything. I drove back to Boston that night. The snow kept falling, soft and endless, erasing the tire tracks behind me. For the first time in years, I didn't know where I was going, only that every mile I put between myself and that house felt both heavier and lighter. At home, Claire was waiting by the window. When I walked in, she didn't ask anything at first. She just poured me coffee and sat across from me. After a while, I said, "They want me to save him." She stirred her cup. "Will you?" "If I do, I'm part of it. If I don't, I'm letting them drown." Claire leaned back, eyes on me. "You've spent half your life drowning for them already." That night I couldn't sleep. I sat at my desk, laptop open, the folder Nathan had given me spread out. Numbers, invoices, lies printed neatly in 12-point font. There was a way out. I could see it. If I cleaned the data, rewrote the records, shifted the accounts, they'd be safe. I knew exactly how to make it disappear, but as I stared at the screen, I kept hearing my father's voice from years ago. Drawings don't build houses. Maybe he was right. But lies don't save them either. When dawn came, I called my mother. Her voice cracked with exhaustion. "Evan, did you sleep?" "No. Please, son. Your father hasn't eaten in days. You're asking me to lie for him. I'm asking you to forgive him." The line went quiet. I closed my eyes and whispered, "I'll come back tomorrow. But this time it's on my terms." The next morning the air was heavy with fog. Maple Street looked smaller than before, like time itself had shrunk it. Nathan was waiting in the kitchen, hands wrapped around a mug he wasn't drinking from. He looked older too, like guilt had aged him more than years ever could. "You came," he said. "You asked me to." He tried to smile, but it faltered. I didn't know how deep it would get, Evan. I thought I could fix it before anyone noticed. Fix it by forging documents or by stealing from public funds. He froze. You found that. You left it right there. He didn't deny it. Dad told me he'd return it when the expansion paid off. But the project died and... He trailed off. I exhaled slowly. You're not just asking me to save you, Nathan. You're asking me to hide a crime. It's not like that. It's exactly like that. Dad's voice came from the hallway, harsh, brittle. We did what we had to do. You think the world cares about honest men anymore? I turned toward him. No, Dad, but that doesn't mean we stopped trying. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then I said quietly, if you want redemption, you start with the truth. I'll help you find a lawyer. That's all. Nathan lowered his head. Dad didn't say a word. When I left, Mom followed me to the door. Her eyes were red. Evan, you really won't help? I just did. Outside, snow began again, small flakes, almost weightless, but each one stung when it touched my skin. 2 days later, my father came to Boston. He found me at a diner near my office. When I saw him walk in, I almost didn't recognize him. His coat hung loose, his hands trembling from the cold, or maybe from something else. He sat down without ordering. For a while, neither of us spoke. Then he said, I turned myself in. I looked at him, waiting. The lawyer said we might lose everything, but I figured we already had. He gave a small laugh, a sound that wasn't really laughter at all. I wanted to protect the family name, he said. Now I don't even know what that means anymore. Maybe it never meant what you thought it did, I said. He looked at me then, really looked. For the first time, I didn't see anger or pride, just a tired man hollowed out by his own mistakes. Do you hate me? He asked. No. Then why does it feel like you do? Because you only remember me when you need saving. He nodded slowly. Then almost in a whisper, you were right to leave. Something broke in my chest when he said that, not in a painful way, more like the sound of a lock turning after years of silence. When we stood to leave, he reached out, hesitated, then placed a hand on my shoulder. Whatever happens next, he said, don't let this house destroy you too. And then he was gone. A week later, the local paper ran a headline, Family business under investigation. Owner cooperates with authorities. I didn't read the full article. Didn't need to. Mom left a voicemail I never returned. Nathan sent a short message. I'm sorry. Thank you. I didn't answer him either. One evening, Claire and I walked along the Charles River. The ice was beginning to melt, and the water moved quietly beneath. Do you feel better? She asked. Not better, I said. Just lighter. That's something, she smiled, soft, understanding. The kind of smile that tells you she's lived through her own kind of silence. At home, I sat at my desk again. The same desk, the same chair, but the air felt different. I opened my email, started typing. Mom, I hope Dad finds peace. I don't hate you. But I'm not coming back. Home isn't where you're born. It's where you finally breathe. I hit send. Then I closed the laptop, leaned back and listened. Outside, the snow was melting, dripping softly from the rooftops, the sound almost like a heartbeat. And for the first time since I could remember, it was quiet in a way that didn't hurt.